Hi, I'm Andrew Huberman. I'm a neuroscientist and professor who studies how the brain works specifically, how our brains change and adapt based on experience, how we see and process the world visually, and how we can use this understanding to improve things like focus, motivation, and mental health. My goal is to take the latest neuroscience discoveries and make them accessible and actionable so people can use their brains and bodies more effectively every day. Today, I want to talk about something fundamental to every success story: motivation and drive. These forces are not just abstract ideas, they're deeply rooted in biology and neuroscience. Understanding how to actively cultivate motivation can transform your life, your goals, and your daily actions. Motivation begins in the brain's reward systems. When you set a goal and take the first steps toward it, your brain releases dopamine, a chemical that makes you feel good and encourages you to keep going. But dopamine isn't just about feeling pleasure, it's about anticipation and progress. Every small win triggers dopamine, fueling the next step. Here's the catch: motivation isn't a constant flood, it waxes and wanes. What separates those who consistently achieve their goals is the ability to manage these fluctuations and build habits that keep motivation alive, even when it feels low. One of the most powerful ways to increase motivation is by structuring your environment. Remove distractions, create cues that remind you of your goals, and design your day so that success becomes the default. For example, if you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. Your brain will associate seeing the clothes with the action, making it easier to start. Another crucial factor is managing stress and fatigue. When your body is exhausted or your mind is overwhelmed, motivation plummets. Simple tools like deep breathing, proper sleep, and timed breaks can reset your nervous system and renew your drive. Finally, mindset matters. Viewing setbacks as learning opportunities rather than failures keeps your dopamine system engaged and your motivation intact. Each step forward, no matter how small, rewires your brain for success. In summary, increasing motivation and drive is less about willpower and more about understanding your brain's chemistry, designing your environment, managing your energy, and cultivating a resilient mindset. When you do this, motivation becomes not just a fleeting spark, but a sustainable flame. Got it? I'll continue expanding the speech in the same style, diving deeply into the science and practical steps for increasing motivation and drive. I'll focus on detailed explanations, examples, and actionable strategies without adding formal openings or closings. Motivation is a dynamic process deeply intertwined with how our brain processes rewards and anticipates future outcomes. At its core lies the neurotransmitter dopamine, often simplified as the feel-good chemical, but it plays a much more nuanced role. Dopamine signals prediction and expectation. It helps your brain estimate how close you are to achieving a goal and encourages you to act. This means motivation is tightly linked to how you frame your goals and perceive progress. Consider this: when you imagine achieving something meaningful, say, finishing a project or reaching a fitness milestone, your brain creates a mental image that triggers dopamine release. This neural activity creates a pull towards taking action. However, the actual experience of reward, such as receiving praise or completing the task, also releases dopamine, reinforcing the behavior. This feedback loop is essential for building sustained motivation. Because dopamine signals reward anticipation, setting clear, achievable goals is crucial. Ambiguous or overwhelming goals fail to generate consistent dopamine spikes. The brain struggles to predict success and therefore reduces motivation. Breaking down large objectives into small, manageable steps allows your brain to experience repeated small victories. These micro goals keep dopamine levels high and maintain drive over extended periods. This leads to the importance of tracking progress. Monitoring how far you've come reinforces motivation by providing tangible evidence of advancement. Even something as simple as a checklist or a journal entry can visually demonstrate success. This visualization of progress keeps the dopamine system engaged and combats feelings of stagnation or frustration. Now, motivation isn't constant. It naturally fluctuates due to biological rhythms, stress levels, and external circumstances. Understanding these fluctuations is critical. Motivation peaks and dips are normal, and recognizing them helps prevent discouragement. Instead of waiting for motivation to strike, cultivating habits and routines ensures action even when motivation is low. Habits bypass the need for continuous dopamine-driven drive because they become automatic, habitual neural pathways. Habits form through repeated behaviors that shift control from the prefrontal cortex, where conscious decisions happen, to the basal ganglia, the brain's habit center. This shift reduces cognitive load and makes actions less dependent on fluctuating motivation. To build these habits, consistency is key. Performing the same small action daily wires the brain to expect and automate it. Structuring your environment is a powerful way to encourage habit formation and motivation. Environmental cues can act as triggers for behavior. For example, placing your running shoes by the door signals your brain that it's time to exercise. These cues create a seamless bridge between intention and action by activating neural circuits associated with the desired behavior. Conversely, eliminating distractions or cues linked to procrastination frees up mental resources and reduces the temptation to deviate from your goals. This could mean turning off notifications, decluttering your workspace, or setting physical boundaries to protect your time. Another crucial factor affecting motivation is energy management. Motivation and energy are intimately linked. When your body or brain is tired, motivation plummets. Fatigue impairs prefrontal cortex function, reducing willpower and increasing impulsivity. Therefore, prioritizing sleep, nutrition, hydration, and stress management is foundational. Sleep, in particular, is a non-negotiable. During sleep, your brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, and resets neurotransmitter levels. Chronic sleep deprivation diminishes dopamine receptor sensitivity, making it harder to feel motivated. Consistently getting 7-9 hours of quality sleep per night optimizes your brain's motivational circuitry. Stress, while sometimes beneficial in short bursts, becomes detrimental when chronic. High cortisol levels can blunt dopamine release and impair executive functions critical for goal-directed behavior. Tools like deep breathing, meditation, or even brief nature exposure can reduce stress and recalibrate your nervous system. One evidence-based practice to reset motivation is strategic rest. This means taking intentional breaks aligned with your natural ultradian rhythms, roughly 90-min, its cycles of heightened alertness followed by dips. Working intensely for 90 minutes and then resting for 10-20 minutes allows your brain to recover, preventing burnout and sustaining motivation longer. Mindset profoundly influences motivation and drive. The lens through which you interpret success and failure can either fuel your dopamine system or shut it down. Viewing setbacks as catastrophic leads to frustration, avoidance, and loss of motivation. On the other hand, framing failures as learning opportunities creates curiosity and resilience, keeping dopamine engaged. This mindset is often called a growth mindset. It encourages you to see effort as a path to mastery and setbacks as necessary feedback. Neural plasticity underlies this concept. Your brain can rewire itself in response to new experiences and challenges. But this process requires ongoing motivation and engagement. Reinforcing a growth mindset includes self-talk practices, journaling about lessons learned, and seeking feedback. When you adopt this approach, your brain treats challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to increase competence and confidence. Beyond internal factors, social context plays a role in motivation. Human brains are wired for connection, and social feedback can amplify or dampen motivation. Positive reinforcement from peers or mentors activates dopamine and oxytocin, creating feelings of reward and safety. Accountability, partners, or groups provide external motivation and reduce the likelihood of giving up. Sharing progress publicly or within a supportive community enhances commitment and makes goals more salient. Technology can both help and hinder motivation. Tools like habit trackers, reminders, and productivity apps can keep you aligned with your objectives. However, excessive social media use or digital distractions overload your brain with unproductive dopamine spikes, causing motivation to scatter. Therefore, managing digital exposure is critical. Setting specific times to check messages or social media, using apps that block distractions during focus periods, or even digital detoxes, can protect your motivational capacity. Another layer to consider is intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation relies on external rewards like money, praise, or status. While these can be powerful initially, intrinsic motivation, the drive arising from genuine interest, purpose, or enjoyment, leads to longer, lasting engagement. Finding intrinsic motivation requires connecting your goals to your core values and passions. When your actions align with what deeply matters to you, motivation flows naturally. Reflection, values clarification exercises, or vision boards can help uncover this connection. Physical movement also influences motivation in profound ways. Exercise stimulates the release of dopamine, endorphins, and other neurotransmitters linked to mood and drive. Even short bursts of physical activity can boost alertness and mental energy. Incorporating regular movement into your day, whether it's walking, stretching, or more intense exercise, enhances your capacity to focus and sustain motivation. This is not just about physical health. It's a critical brain health strategy. Nutrition matters as well. Foods rich in tyrosine, an amino acid precursor to dopamine like nuts, seeds, eggs, and lean meats, support dopamine synthesis. Avoiding excessive sugar and processed foods prevents energy crashes that sap motivation. Hydration is frequently overlooked. Dehydration impairs cognitive function, including decision-making and emotional regulation, which are essential for maintaining motivation. Drinking sufficient water throughout the day is a simple yet effective way to support your drive. Another effective strategy involves goal visualization and mental rehearsal. Imagining yourself succeeding activates similar neural circuits as actual performance. This primes your brain to expect success and increases motivation to take necessary steps. This technique is used by athletes, performers, and high achievers to boost confidence and focus. The more vivid and detailed the visualization, including sensory experiences and emotional states, the stronger the motivational effect. It's important to set process goals alongside outcome goals. While outcome goals focus on end results, e.g., losing 10 pounds, process goals emphasize behaviors, e.g., exercising 30 minutes daily. Process goals are controllable and create steady dopamine release by highlighting consistent effort. Creating rituals around your process goals signals your brain that it's time to engage. These rituals can be as simple as a morning coffee before work or a 5-minute meditation before studying. Rituals provide structure and reduce the mental friction of starting. Timing your work according to your circadian rhythms can also increase motivation. Most people experience peak cognitive performance mid-morning and early evening. Aligning challenging tasks with these windows maximizes mental energy and dopamine signaling. Avoiding decision fatigue supports motivation too. Every choice you make depletes mental resources, making subsequent decisions harder. Automating choices like meal prepping or setting standard outfits conserves willpower for goal-relevant actions. Reward scheduling is another key to motivation. Instead of waiting until the end of a big project to celebrate, build infrequent, meaningful rewards after completing steps. These rewards don't have to be big. A favorite snack, a short walk, or a social break can suffice. Building a motivation toolkit means combining multiple strategies tailored to your preferences and context. No single approach works for everyone, but understanding the underlying principles allows you to experiment and discover what keeps your motivation high. In summary, increasing motivation and drive involves a holistic approach, understanding brain chemistry, creating effective environments, managing energy and stress, cultivating resilient mindsets, leveraging social connections, aligning goals with values, and optimizing daily habits and routines. Motivation is not just about feeling inspired, it's about creating the conditions that allow your brain's natural reward systems to function optimally, turning intention into sustained action. Absolutely. I'll continue expanding on the detailed science-based exploration of motivation and drive, maintaining the clear, practical tone and digging deeper into mechanisms, techniques, and actionable insights. To further understand how motivation operates, it's helpful to explore the relationship between motivation and the brain's neural circuits beyond dopamine alone. One key area is the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive functions like planning, decision-making, and impulse control. This region exerts top-down control over behavior, helping you align your actions with long-term goals rather than short-term temptations. However, the prefrontal cortex requires energy and rest to function optimally. When you're sleep-deprived or stressed, its ability to regulate impulses weakens, leading to decreased motivation and increased likelihood of procrastination or distraction. Strengthening prefrontal cortex function through consistent sleep, mindfulness, and cognitive exercises can improve your capacity to stay motivated over time. Another neural structure intimately involved in motivation is the ventral striatum, part of the basal ganglia. This area is a central hub for processing reward signals and motivating goal-directed behavior. It works closely with dopamine pathways to assign value to potential actions and outcomes. When the ventral striatum is highly activated, motivation is high. When activation wanes, motivation dips. Interestingly, the interaction between the ventral striatum and the prefrontal cortex determines how you balance immediate rewards against long-term benefits. This balance explains why sometimes short-term pleasures like scrolling social media can override the motivation to pursue more meaningful but effortful goals. Enhancing this balance can be achieved by consciously framing the rewards of long-term goals in immediate, tangible ways. For example, instead of focusing solely on losing 20 pounds, a distant goal, reframe it as feeling energized after today's workout or enjoying the mood boost from movement now. These immediate, positively framed outcomes engage the ventral striatum and promote motivation. Understanding the role of stress hormones like cortisol is also vital. Acute stress can enhance motivation by increasing alertness and focus. However, chronic stress elevates cortisol levels persistently, which disrupts dopamine signaling and reduces reward sensitivity. This means under chronic stress, activities that were once motivating feel dull or effortful, leading to burnout. Therefore, stress management is not just about relaxation, but about preserving the neurochemical balance that supports motivation. Techniques like heart rate variability, HRV training, which involves controlled breathing to influence autonomic nervous system balance, have been shown to reduce cortisol and improve mood and motivation. Physical exercise is a potent tool for modulating brain chemistry and increasing motivation. Aerobic exercise, in particular, elevates levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor BDNF, a protein that supports neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and learn. Higher BDNF levels correlate with improved mood, cognition, and motivation. Incorporating regular aerobic activity into your routine thus not only improves physical health, but also boosts the brain's capacity to form new habits and maintain motivation. Even brief, moderate, intensity exercise sessions produce measurable improvements in attention and drive. Beyond aerobic exercise, high-intensity interval training, HIIT, and resistance training also have motivational benefits. These forms of exercise challenge your body in short bursts, increasing adrenaline and dopamine release, which can provide a quick motivational boost and improve mood. Nutrition directly affects the brain's motivational circuitry as well. The amino acid tyrosine found in protein-rich foods like chicken, eggs, cheese, and nuts is the precursor to dopamine synthesis. Consuming adequate tyrosine supports dopamine production and helps maintain motivation. Conversely, diets high in refined sugars and processed foods cause rapid spikes and crashes in blood glucose, which impair focus and decrease motivation. Maintaining balanced blood sugar levels through whole foods and regular meals stabilizes energy and supports consistent motivational states. Hydration is another often overlooked factor. The brain is roughly 75% water, and even mild dehydration can reduce cognitive performance, attention, and mood. Drinking sufficient water throughout the day is a simple but crucial habit to preserve motivation. Supplements can also influence motivation, but they should be approached carefully and with scientific backing. Some research points to the benefits of omega-3 fatty acids found in fish oil for brain health and dopamine regulation. Additionally, certain adaptogens, like rhodiola rosea, have been studied for their potential to reduce fatigue and enhance mental endurance, indirectly supporting motivation. However, no supplement replaces foundational lifestyle factors like sleep, nutrition, exercise, and stress management. The best approach integrates all these aspects holistically. Sleep, as mentioned earlier, is fundamental for motivation. During sleep, the brain processes emotional experiences and consolidates memories related to learning and goal attainment. Insufficient sleep reduces dopamine receptor availability in key brain areas, making it harder to experience reward and motivation. Creating a sleep routine that supports motivation involves consistent sleep and wake times, limiting blue light exposure before bed, and creating a dark, quiet environment. Techniques like progressive muscle relaxation or guided meditation can help reduce sleep arousal and improve sleep quality. Another powerful technique to increase motivation is goal visualization and mental rehearsal. Imagining yourself successfully engaging in a behavior or achieving a goal activates many of the same neural pathways involved in actual performance. This primes your brain and body, making the action more likely and easier to initiate. Effective visualization involves vivid sensory details, how the environment looks, sounds, smells, and how you feel emotionally. Including positive emotions in your visualization enhances dopamine release, strengthening the motivational drive. Mental rehearsal is frequently used by elite athletes and performers to optimize skill acquisition and maintain motivation during challenging periods. Incorporating visualization into daily routines can help bridge the gap between intention and action. Goal setting strategies themselves influence motivation. SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, provide clarity and structure, which enhance dopamine signaling by making success predictable and trackable. Moreover, adopting implementation intentions a specific if, then plans like if it is 7 a.m., then I will meditate for 10 minutes, can automate behaviors and reduce decision fatigue. These plans create mental links between a cue and an action, supporting habit formation and motivation. Recognizing the importance of intrinsic motivation is essential. Intrinsic motivation arises from doing an activity for its inherent satisfaction, rather than external rewards or pressures. This type of motivation is more sustainable and associated with greater creativity and persistence. To nurture intrinsic motivation, focus on autonomy, competence, and relatedness 3 psychological needs identified by self-determination theory. Autonomy means feeling in control of your actions. Competence is feeling effective. Relatedness involves connection with others. Providing yourself choices within your goals enhances autonomy. Celebrating small improvements builds competence, and engaging with supportive communities satisfies relatedness, all boosting intrinsic motivation. Social support plays a significant role in maintaining motivation and drive. Sharing your goals with others increases accountability and provides encouragement. Positive social interactions release oxytocin, a hormone that fosters trust and bonding, which supports motivation and emotional resilience. Joining groups with shared interests or working alongside partners who encourage your efforts creates a social environment conducive to sustained motivation. Conversely, social isolation or negative influences can sap motivation, underscoring the need to cultivate positive connections. Technology use also impacts motivation in complex ways. While digital tools like habit trackers, calendar reminders, and productivity apps can enhance motivation and organization, overuse of social media and digital multitasking fragment attention and undermine deep focus. Managing technology includes setting boundaries, for example, scheduling focus blocks, where distractions are minimized, turning off non-essential notifications, or using apps that limit time on distracting platforms. Mindful use of technology protects cognitive resources critical for motivation. Reward scheduling is another important concept. Immediate rewards after task completion stimulate dopamine release, reinforcing the behavior. However, it's important to balance this so rewards don't become excessive or distracting. A practical approach is to use small rewards aligned with your values and goals. For instance, after completing a focused work session, treat yourself to a short walk, a favorite snack, or a social call. These rewards provide positive feedback loops without undermining long-term objectives. Conversely, avoiding reward substitution, where unrelated or unhealthy rewards replace goal-related rewards, is crucial. For example, avoiding using social media as a reward after studying, as it may create conflicting dopamine signals that reduce overall motivation. An often overlooked aspect is the role of curiosity and novelty in motivation. The brain's dopamine system responds strongly to new and unexpected experiences. Injecting novelty into your routines, trying new activities, changing your environment, or learning new skills can rekindle motivation. This is why monotony often leads to boredom and reduced drive. Purposefully incorporating variety keeps your brain engaged and your motivational circuits active. Closely related to curiosity is the concept of flow, a psychological state of deep immersion where challenge and skill are balanced. Flow is highly motivating and satisfying, characterized by focused attention, loss of self-consciousness, and intrinsic enjoyment. Designing activities that match your skill level to the challenge, setting clear goals, and minimizing distractions can help you enter flow states, thereby increasing motivation and productivity. Decision-making strategies also affect motivation. Simplifying choices and minimizing overwhelming options reduces decision fatigue, preserving mental energy for important tasks. For example, creating routines, planning your day, and limiting options in certain areas like meals or outfits conserve willpower for goal-oriented behaviors. Building motivation momentum is another key principle. Early wins create a cascade of dopamine release that propels continued effort. Starting with small, easily achievable tasks builds confidence and encourages tackling bigger challenges. This momentum is why just getting started is often the hardest yet most critical step. Creating a low barrier to initiation, such as working for just 5 minutes, often leads to extended engagement. Resilience, the ability to recover from setbacks, is also integral to sustained motivation. Setbacks are inevitable, but how you respond determines future drive. Cultivating resilience involves developing adaptive coping strategies like reframing negative thoughts, seeking social support, and maintaining perspective. Practicing mindfulness and emotional regulation techniques can reduce the impact of negative emotions on motivation, helping you bounce back quickly. Lastly, aligning goals with your identity enhances motivation. When a goal becomes part of how you see yourself, I am a healthy person, I am a focused learner, motivation to act consistently strengthens. Identity-based motivation leverages deeply held beliefs to support persistent behavior change. You can reinforce this by regularly affirming your identity through self-talk, journaling, or visual cues. The brain integrates these affirmations, making aligned behaviors feel natural and automatic. Ultimately, motivation and drive aren't mysteries, they're biological processes you can influence and optimize. By understanding how your brain and body work together, you can create the conditions for lasting motivation, tackle challenges with resilience, and move consistently toward your goals. It's about building systems that support you, not relying on willpower alone. Keep experimenting, stay curious, and remember, progress is a journey made one small step at a time.